All right, welcome back, everybody. It has been a great day of presentations with very interesting and informative content. So I hope everybody has enjoyed the day as much as I have. So, what seems like ages ago, pre-COVID, we've been planning an actual live retail summit event. And our next presenter, Philip Gulmy, was one of our first speakers lined up to participate. So fast forward 6 months, we are all virtual, but we're so glad that he can finally share what Ralph Lauren is doing when it comes to their systems, process, and reporting enhancements. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Philip Gulmy, Senior Director of Global Management Reporting with Ralph Lauren. Take it away, Philip.
Thank you, Robin. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you, everybody. I want to thank Intrel for giving me this opportunity. Yes, it's been a long time. It was back in April when we were supposed to do this. And now we finally get the chance to do this virtually, which I'm pleased to be a presenter. My name is Philip Gulmy. I am with Ralph Lauren. I'm going to give you a little bit of overview of what I plan on discussing today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about us and me, our cloud strategy, some of the improvements we've done in this during the time of COVID, some of the things we have planned post today, and then we'll open it up for some questions and answers. So Ralph Lauren, if you don't know who we are, oh, and also I'd like to thank Intrel for giving me the opportunity to wear a button-down shirt. It's been about since March that I last put on one of these fine articles of clothing, and it actually might be one of the places where I might have caught COVID. Back in March, I also had I had a bout of the COVID, and you know, it was a mild bout, but after about a week or two, I was back up and fully functional, mostly because it was our year end. But if you don't know us, Ralph Lauren is in the lifestyle business. We provide apparel, footwear, accessories, home, fragrance, hospitality to all of those who are interested in our brand. We've been around for 50 years, over 50 years at this point now. And, you know, we have many brands. We have Ralph Lauren, we have Collection, we have Purple Label, we have the iconic Polo Ralph Lauren label, Double RL, and some other brands as well. We operate retail, full price, outlet, and concession shops. We have a wide wholesale distribution network, and we have licensed stores across Americas, EMEA, and APAC. About me, I have about 21 years of experience at this point. I've been with Ralph Lauren for about 13, almost 14 years. And I've been primarily in my career, I've been in FP&A. So I started out in FP&A, and about 5 years ago, I switched over to my current role, which is in the systems management role. And I've been using Essbase now for about 19 years. I've used planning, so primarily on the planning and Essbase side of things. I'm also responsible for HFM in my role. So I'm not the expert in my team, but we're also responsible for that. My team consists of 2 direct reports in North America, and I also have system administrators in the region, one in EMEA and one in APAC. So like I said earlier, Essbase and HFM are our primary, we're the administrators for those systems for the global finance team. So this doesn't really tell the whole story of our cloud timeline. I've been pitching cloud for about, since probably 16, 17. And our partners with Intrel and Oracle know our storied journey. We went through a CFO, then we went through a CIO, then we went through a new FP&A lead. But eventually, we've got them all convinced that it was time to convert to the cloud. And we weren't the first team to go to the cloud. We actually had a GL team in APAC go to the cloud with our APAC AX upgrade. That went in April of 19. And then we got the sign, that went pretty well. And then we got the approval for SBase upgrade. And we went to SBase in the OAC version, which has now since migrated over to its own standalone, but we are on the OAC version of SBase. So that started in June of 19. And then we went pretty quickly. It was about a 3 to 4 month migration. We took most of the existing SBase cubes that we had and just did a lift and shift into the cloud. Our North America cube, we did do some restructuring in that cube. We standardized the chart of accounts and a little bit of user change for that. So that was a newer cube for the teams. As we moved two of the cubes, we moved North America and we moved EMEA, and we were shown the hybrid functionality, and that completely won us over. It's powerful tool, powerful functionality in the tool that really is a game changer in my mind. It allows you to do many things, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Then we had some pushback in the APAC region. They didn't want to go to a hybrid cube. We kept preaching, guys, you have to go, we have to go. So finally in January of 2020, we convinced them, hey, it's time, we have to move you to the hybrid cube. And they actually were very thrilled by the power that it provided them. Then, not too much after that, in February, we started seeing COVID closures in our APAC region. If I was, hindsight being 2020, if I knew then, I would have moved all my 401k out of stocks, because like government officials, I knew early that this could be a bad thing. We had stores in the Wuhan region that were closing. Our China locations all closed, and then it just proceeded to spread across the globe. By March of 2020, obviously the North America and EMEA regions also closed, and it also coincided with our fiscal year end. So now, fortunately, we are all 100% in the cloud, 100% hybrid, and some of the feedback that I got from this time was really thank you. About the October timeframe preceding, all of our corporate offices went to the open concept format. So we were no longer allowed to work from the office. We were all working from home. And what the cloud provided us was really powerful functionality that you could do anywhere. And the APAC team who had latency issues, had nightly upgrades during their workday, nightly updates during their workday. They were struggling just with the on-prem environment, and they reaped the most benefits from our move to the cloud. So in April, we're doing all of our fiscal year-end reporting, everybody from home, and we actually did a pretty good job with it. We were successful finishing up everything, thankfully, with our cloud environment. Once year-end reporting wrapped up, we did have furloughs that began. So it really began the process of re-engineering how we do our reporting. A lot of our legacy stuff was in Excel and very cumbersome. It was emailing files back and forth, and those things could no longer happen when you only have a very small team working around you. Also, let's throw some more work into the mix. In June of 2020, since we saw the benefits of SBase Cloud, we said, let's start rolling out FCC so we can start seeing some additional cloud benefits with our HFM to FCC upgrade. So that also took place. Just to give you an idea of what our landscape looked like, this is the on-prem environment that we had. We're SAP and Microsoft AX as our primary general ledgers. We also have EDW BI data being fed in for some operational metrics. In this landscape, we also use planning. So you'll see we had a capital planning tool, and we had a North America planning environment as well. And they fed our S-based applications for reporting. In EMEA, we had an S-based cube that only could handle 2 years in it because of complex constant currency calculations, restatements, and things like that. So we had one EMEA cube for current year, and then we had a historical cube. So it made reporting very, very difficult. Prior to the AX upgrade, we also had 3 cube applications in the APAC region. As we moved, which I'll get to, those were combined as we did the AX upgrade to Microsoft AX D365. We also had a brain cube, and really what that brain cube did was it took all of the financial data from all of the S-based applications, merged it with operational brand metrics, and did brand allocations for the entire P&L globally to get a P&L by brand. Once we went to the cloud, we saw so many we saw so much increased performance that we said, hey, let's streamline some of these environments. So we did, and I mistyped there, but we migrated the capital planning cube, and we actually made it an S-based cube. So now, instead of having any planning environments, we went 100% S-based and started capital planning in there as well. It's a custom application. In North America, we stopped the planning environment as well and did 100% of our forecasting and budgeting in our S-based application as well. In EMEA, we said, you know what, we are seeing tremendous upside from calculation times, from just the ability to handle much more data, that we were able to combine the 2 S-based applications into one. So now EMEA is 100% S-based in one application from FY13 through today. In APAC, we merged the 3 applications into one. And then as we started consolidating these cubes, we streamlined the consolidation. We took a higher level approach to consolidate into one application and streamline the brand allocation process. So that was kind of the migration into cloud. Since then, obviously, we had the COVID impacts, and it was really time to leverage the tool and see what other benefits we could get out of it. So from the May until now time frame, these are some of the projects that we really worked on, and really what I'm trying to hopefully you can get out of this is the cloud, because of the hybrid cube capabilities. When you make an account change to your hierarchies, it saves instantly. When you're restructuring data and it takes hours and hours to restructure with one of those changes on-prem, you now have no blackout periods. So you could basically be doing work throughout the entire month in your production environment and have no impact to the user community. So we took this time to really start saying, all right, what changes can we make, and what benefits can we reap from this application? So one one of the first things we did is we updated our comp reporting. Comp was in Excel. We updated that and moved it all to the regional cubes. We migrated our store count and square footage reporting to the cubes as well. That was also an Excel process that was very cumbersome. We loaded store opening, store closing, and lease dates to the cube. You know, it sounds kind of like why would you do that? But now we have a one-stop shop for all store information. We enhanced our store count reporting. Now that we have the store count in the system, we added dimension attributes to further enhance the data that was loaded. Like I said earlier, we merged the EMEA cubes, and then we aligned all of our account hierarchies to be 100% in sync as we went across the regions and across HFM. And then lastly, we just rolled out this week an updated constant currency reporting capabilities, which I'll also get into. So for the comp reporting, our comp was really maintained in Excel. We had comp flags that were passed around and confirmed. We had sales coming from Excel. We had VLOOKUPs trying to bring all the data together, the statuses, the sales. So this is what we ended up putting into our cubes. So what we do now is we have BI, and BI is the source of all the comp definitions. There's many different types of comp definitions, whether it's a new store, a remodeled store, if it's a refurbished store, if it's closed for COVID. All of those definitions are loaded into BI. And then we take that data, we load it into the Essbase cubes as the BI definition. And then we do a custom calc to just convert those definitions to a 1 or 0. If it's a comp store, it's going to be 1. If it's a non-comp store, it's going to be 0. Now, what I showed down here on some screenshots of the system are, it's in the data source dimension. So our data source dimension has all of our inputs from systems coming through, all the GL data. So that is flowing through the external view with any topsides that are needed, any adjustments that are needed. And then the 1s and 0s are calcing that data into the comp, non-comp, and comp base buckets. I gave an example here of how that calculation works in the script. It's pretty straightforward. It's an if then if else statement where if the comp flag is 1, provide the external view. If it's not, then move it to non-comp. The one call out that we have struggled with a bunch here is block creation. If you're not doing your block creation setup right, the formula will not, the data will not return in the blocks. So just watch for that. And also people loading at the wrong intersections. That's also troubling sometimes. So one of our external requirements are our store counts and the change in store count, the roll forward balances. So the old process was so difficult to manage. It was just managed from Excel files. There were no sales to compare against for those locations. Very cumbersome for checking, for auditing. So now what we've done is we've loaded those flags in, and this is a temporary solution for right now. Ultimately, what should happen is it should look at the comp flags and calc off that, but we haven't gone to that step yet. So we've set our prior year balance as our opening status, our store open status member. So that's going to have the same store count across all 12 months. And then what the teams have to manage now is just their openings and closures. If they know a store is going to open throughout the year, they put a 1 in when that store is supposed to open, or a -1 if the store is going to close. So it seems like it's been working very well for the first quarter. We have Q2 close coming up next week, so we'll be testing it through the user community as well. But time saver here, huge win. Very simple, but very effective. We also provide store count report, store detailed P&L reporting across the globe. With that, we wanted to have one place to look for this information. So we had S-based detail coming into this report. We had Excel data coming into this report. VLOOKUPs again. So it was just a way to streamline the reporting that we have, so that we have one source providing all data. So we've loaded store dates, store opening dates, lease expiration dates, square footage, gross square footage, net square footage, and then the financial data was already in the cube. So that would give us our full P&L by store. Next, we had the enhancements to the store count reporting. One of the huge wins, another huge win besides hybrid, is the cube builder functionality that's coming in Excel. Cube Designer is a godsend. Speeds up outline maintenance tremendously. When you have an exercise like attributes, adding them to dimensions is so simple. So what we had here was we had all that store information data with the ones and zeros. What we added to that was there were certain groupings and classifications for stores, whether it was a Polo store, whether it was a Lux store, whether it was double RL store. All of these attributes were added to the store locations, along with what region they were in, as reported through the region, to give us an automated report. And if you can look at the detail, I know it's very small, and I'm struggling to see it as well. There actually is a number difference that's sitting in the report for wholesale. And you'll see it's 738, and that's the report that's up top, the nice Excel report. In the Excel version, in the S-based version, it's 737. From this exercise, we found that they were reporting a store that wasn't 100% correct, and shouldn't be included in the store count. So now that all this all this data is in the system, it's much easier to track, much easier to audit, and you can find problems much quicker. Yeah, so I mentioned it earlier. Our EMEA cubes, they were challenging. Our teams would one of their biggest pain points were having to pull data from multiple cubes. As constant currencies changed, you had to change it in one cube, and then you had to change it in the next cube. You know, both of the cubes had different calculations for how sales were treated. So we had to change. We had to have two sets of currency calcs for each for multiple years. And then if they're doing a long-range plan or just a historical view of their stores, they have to know to pull data from multiple environments. So we streamlined all of our calculations, and updated the outline, and then you know, huge win for the EMEA team. They now have one environment to pull from. Another game changer. You know, it's now that you can make all these changes quicker and faster. Adding an alternate hierarchy for accounts, or just changing the base structures, it's so much easier and faster. We have been struggling for years with commonality of our account structures across each of the regions, across HFM. What we've now been able to do is align all of those. Where there are differences, which EMEA isn't 100% structured global with the global standards in their base dimensionality yet. That's coming shortly, but we were able to quickly throw in an alternate hierarchy that's now it's got the same lower level, zero level members that the other regions have. What we also found is there were reporting differences for allocations. Some of our allocations were being mixed in with operating expenses and zeroing out some of those operating expenses from an overhead versus a store standpoint. So what we did was we set up some shared members to move those accounts into the allocation section of our P&L, and now we can report a P&L out of the box, standard, and we can use it in FR. So really, we're going to start building all of our financial reports in FR versus the Excel places where they're being generated now. And I don't know how difficult constant currency is for people, but if you have it easy, we probably have it one of the most difficult we have one of the most difficult processes ever. We change our constant rate every year. So our budget is different. Our budget rate changes every year. We will be in the middle of a forecast and we'll have a budget that's due, and they're at two different rates. So it was a toggling nightmare for all of our teams. Some of our teams would even do it in Excel to get the constant currency with the right rates for these exercises. So what we've now done is we have our USDR, which is our monthly rate. That's easy. That's a monthly rate that's loaded to the system. And then what we've done for our USDC, USDP, USDB is we've loaded those to no year, no scenario, no version. So it just calculates across every version, every scenario, every year for those members. Our USDC is our current year constant rate. Our USDP is our prior year, because we like to have we like to show what we reported last year's at reported rate as well, to compare what we sent to the street. And then we also have that USDB bucket when we're doing our next year's budget, and we can't change the current year yet, and it isn't the prior year. So we now have a USDB bucket where we can apply a constant rate for next year. Now, it doesn't stop there. It's an ever-changing environment. There's always room for improvements, always room for opportunities. So we're going to keep moving forward and keep moving and progressing in our cubes. What we're going to do, what we had at one point in time, is we had a KPI cube that just housed all global data. We've rethought that process, and we are now going to have operational KPI data in each of our regional cubes, and then we'll consolidate that in the global cube at a summary level. So that's going to start happening shortly with integrated BI data. With that, we're also going to go live with our global cube. It's not 100% live yet, so it's getting some user acceptance testing from the teams across the globe, so that hopefully by December timeframe, we'll be live with that environment, and our corporate finance team now has one place to look for their forecasts and their budgets, rather than going to the three regional applications. We also have FCC user acceptance. That's it's all happening at the same time. So we have that going on in November and December, with some parallel runs in our Q4, which is January and February, with go live in April of next year. Then we have our automated reports. Now that our cubes are the same, that our structures are the same, now we can start rolling out the reporting that we need, that we can retire a lot of the Excel legacy reports that we've been using along the way. And then lastly, we've also gone live with Workday from an HR, HCM perspective. So now we also need to start having a planning tool for our people and simplify that process. So some of our pros and cons, and I think you've gotten the point so far. Speed. Hybrid is a godsend. It is one of the best things that could ever happen to S-Base. Not needing to ag all, or it's wonderful. That alone would be a reason to move to the cloud. Like I said earlier, no blackouts. We can pretty much develop at all times throughout the month, and continue this path, the path to improvements. The Excel Cube Designer, excellent for outline maintenance, for attributes, for anything, for building alternate hierarchies. Very easy to use. And then not having to worry about product updates. That was one of our primary reasons to go to the cloud, was not have to do an update, but unfortunately we do have to do one more upgrade to the new S-Base 20 or 21, whatever it's going to be. So hopefully that is our last update. And just, a clunky thing, one thing that I don't like about our current S-Base is the outline manager. It kind of reminds me of the planning manager, where moving multiple members in the outline it's difficult to do. I think that's pretty much why they gave us the Cube Designer. It's a way to work around that. But from what I've seen of the new S-Base, it looks more like the standard on-prem outline manager functionality. With that, I am done with my presentation. I thank you all, and I welcome questions so that you can learn more.
Yeah, any questions for Philip? Okay, here's one for you. You mentioned you're moving to Oracle Cloud FCC soon. Are you also considering Oracle Cloud EPM planning?
Great question. And that it's been on the roadmap and off the roadmap, and really where we're coming from as a finance community. A lot of we zero-based budget. We're not using drivers yet, so to jump to the planning environment with the licensing, it didn't make sense for our group. It doesn't mean we won't move to the future. In the future, I constantly push, let's go driver, let's go driver, let's go driver. So hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. But it's definitely an option that we've looked at. It just didn't make sense for us to do it right now.
Got it. No, that makes sense. And here's another question. With such a massive brand and so many store locations around the world, was it difficult to gain consensus in any way to handle the COVID situation when it comes to reporting?
Yes, it was. We actually went to our external auditors to try to figure out, what's the best way to do this? Because basically when you have comp locations, and really what comp means is you're comparable to last year, we have zero sales for a lot of our stores. We have April is pretty much zero for all regions across the board. May is pretty light. So how do you show that? How do you represent that? One of the, and that's why the comp functionality is tremendous. So we could run some different scenarios of how we should do this. What we ultimately decided is kind of let it be what it is. All those stores that were comp before COVID, we remained comp. And really, if a new store opened, those are the stores that are non-comp. But we kept it simple. There were many ways you could have played it, but we just kept the simple route, and left all stores as comp.
All right, that's good. Makes sense. Another question, with all the changes due to COVID, are you able to play scenarios to help understand these changes in S-Space?
Yeah, it's a great question. And unfortunately, the way that we're structured and built, we're zero based. So a lot of the scenario analysis is outside of the system, and it's mostly on sales and gross margin, and what it's looking like when stores are opening. What ultimately gets loaded into S-Base is the final version. Now, I'm not saying S-Base can't handle it. S-Base has sandboxing capabilities. We're not using those, but that would be the place to do your scenarios with the different versions and options and probabilities of when stores are going to open. It's just something that we don't do in the system.
Got it. Okay. All right, good. Any other questions for Philip? All right, doesn't look like it. Well, thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate your participation. And I want to invite everybody back at 4 o'clock Central Time, so the top of the hour, for our retail professional panel. Again, it will be chaired by Adam Scott, which is the Retail and CPG Group Vice President for Oracle, along with Edward Roski, Interrel's CEO. And then all of our presenters for the day will sit on the panel and will share some insights into some very specific questions that Adam and Edward will pose. So please join us at 4 o'clock Central Time, top of the hour, for this panel conversation. Thanks, everyone.